Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. I'm your host, Jacob Edens, and today we are going to be discussing decisions, declarations, and decrees. So, when we're talking about a decree, right, a lot of people understand affirmations, right, in the robotic way. And it definitely does work because what you're doing when you're doing an essential robotic affirmation is you're decreeing without essentially attachment to the outcome, right? You're just emanating. So when we talk about righteous judgment or judging righteously, what we're really talking about is judging what your inputs are rather than your outputs. Because in the last video, we talked about how reality is always reflecting you, right? So even if you're a baby and you don't understand any of this, you're still the law. The law of assumption is still you, right? To take Neville Goddard, you are the law and you are the promise, right? That you will have the same powers as the Christ because the Christ dwells within you, and that you are the law because your assumptions harden into facts, right? Your reality is essentially molded around your beingness, your identity, who you claim to be, and what you deny to have power over you, right? Those are your two bifurcating faculties within which you operate your consciousness. You're aware or not aware of something, right? So when you are changing something in your life, what you are doing is you're orientating yourself to the operant power, to use another Goddard term, right? You're putting yourself in what you would call first principle, first cause, the center, right? So if I'm having a bad experience with a coworker or a friend, right? And I trace back my mental imaginative capacity and I see in my mind that, oh, last week I was having a mental argument with this person, right? I was having a play out thing where I was like dissing them in the shower, and I was unconscious about it, whatever. And then I ran into that in a physical, external, third dimensional thing where I actually had that argument. What happened there? Well, I caused that argument through my assumption and my awareness in what you would call a fourth dimensional mental space, right? When you're a third dimensional human, you are operating exclusively from third dimensional body sensory input, meaning that you're thinking from your five senses as if they are all that you are. But even that is ignorance of the truth because you have a sense in your mental space, right, your mind space, where I could feel an orange right now in my mind, and I could feel exactly what it feels like to peel an orange and to take a bite out of an orange. So I have internal sensory mechanics in what you would consider a higher oscillating frequency of reality, same reality, but a more subtle dimension versus a more gross dimension. And you can understand subtle and gross from understanding subtle as water and gross as ice. Same substance, physicalized, more subtle, right? More malleable and fluid. So when you have your mind, right, the external world is essentially gross thoughts. It's physicalized thoughts. But in your mind, they're malleable until you focus on them. Focus is selective ignorance. You place more and more awareness on them. You feel them to be real and you imprint them. That's why it's called an identity. You get dented with it. You're always yourself, but you get shaped through your identity, which is the same thing as a filter on your reality. If you have an Instagram filter that's yellow, everything you look at is yellow. If you have a poor person filter, everything you look at looks like poverty and suffering. If you have a healthy filter, you're always healthy and you can't get enough of how healthy you are. So your identity is the filter through which your consciousness experiences the reality. Because without that filter, you'd be everything all at once and nothing at the same time. So having that identity gives you the subject-object preposition, it gives you the ability to focus, and it gives you the ability to cultivate your experience in the way that you want it to be experienced, right? So when you're looking at decisions, decrees, and declarations, most people make affirmations from their identity as a body and a mind. But if we go back to the previous video, we understand that we're actually a soul, right? A soul that actually is more physical than this body, right? And if you want to understand that, go to Darius J. Wright, look at the out-of-body experiencers who have documented experiments. If you want to look at near-death experiencers, they're on the hospital, they're like, I can clap my fucking hands, and there's my body, right? So your soul holds physicality. Your body's not just the only physical thing, and then everything else is airy-fairy. That's a lie. So when you understand that you're the soul, power in the body, that's why they call you the source, right? You got the Tony Stark That's you. You got the Iron Man suit, and then you got the Jarvis, which is your mind. But your soul is all of those things completely integrated into one thing. You're in like a glove. You're in a body glove that has the intelligence of that body glove talking to you like it's talking to Jarvis. That's why your thoughts can fuck you up and dominate you. It's that intelligence basically being programmed against you in the body. And if your body is all fucked up, it's because you have an assumption that it's fucked up because it just mirrors what your soul thinks and believes and identifies as. But I digress. So identifying as the soul is the key. And that goes hand in hand with first cause, first principle, because your reality is revolving around you, in that if your soul gets taken out of your body falls over and ants eat it, right? So that life force energy emanation coming from you, right, is who you actually are. You're actually the source of life in your body, emanating through the system, and then having the reality at large basically reflect that back to you to tell you information about yourself. That's the essence of what the mirror principle is, right? You change yourself internally, and then the mirror reflects it, the mirror being your third dimensional externalized experience, right? So as you understand that you're the soul, you're the operant power, you're the source of your reality, right? It takes two to tango. If you're not there to participate, then it's not really a party. So if you understand that, now you can begin to use affirmations from a decision-making standpoint through your real identity. I am the soul. I'm in this reality. This is how it is for me, right? That's an assumption, a decision. Decision is selective ignorance. So when you decide something, you kill other potentialities through lack of awareness of them. I'm a winner. But remember that one time you lost? Not thinking about that. I'm a winner. I'm focused on being a winner, right? So you're focusing, you're selectively choosing to remove awareness from things that are not in alignment with your ideal, and you're thinking as if you are that now and have that thing now, right? Or are that person that you want to be now. But you do that from the soul, right? Which is that eternal aspect of you that is the real you. This world is basically designed to give you an experience of what you're not. It's designed to have lack and limitation. It's designed to have degradation. It's designed to have things like aging. It's designed to have all of these experiences that are fun for game parameters, but you also are completely, you forget who you are when you come into the game, right? So that's a huge thing that you have to overcome in the game. But once you overcome that, now you can begin to consciously curate and control the game through understanding that the law is you, which is the law of assumption, which is what you assume hardens into facts. So if I assume that my boss is going to be an asshole to me, or I assume this person's an asshole, then I'm going to put a parameter framework in my individualized, localized experience that is only going to allow that person, if they do show up as that version of themselves. In the same way that if I have a woman and there's a mom and a daughter, it's the same woman. Two different people see that person two different ways, have two different totally interactions. If you're somebody's daughter and you're interacting with the same woman, you're going to see her as a mother and frame her differently than if you're her husband, seeing her as your wife, as your equal partner, right? So the way that you have an assumption about anything in reality frames the way that that thing shows up for you, individual, because everything is multifaceted and multidimensional. So you're picking essentially what you want to experience, and you're choosing that consciously, and you're assuming that's how it is. Most people do that backwards. They have an experience and they form assumptions based off of their experiences, which will loop the reality because the assumption will recreate the experience. They'll have the experience, they'll edify it, they'll say, no, this happens to me, this is who I am, not realizing that they assumed, thought, and expected it to happen, which was basically bullnosing directly towards that experience. In the same way that if you have an argument with somebody, then you have it physically. If you're awake, you understand that you were dwelling in that state, you were expecting that, you weren't contradicting it, you weren't denying that that's not the reality and replacing it with the reality that you want. You just accepted it passively, and now it came to fruition because you're the source of your reality. In the same way that you power your body, if you leave your body dies. If you don't focus on thoughts don't have any power. So you have that assumptive capability within you, and not recognizing that is like walking around with a loaded handgun in your pocket that can go off at any time, because somebody could tell you have cancer and then you assume it to be true and you're fucking done. So you have to understand your assumptive power, and then you have to reclaim your authority from essentially what are second causes. And when you are operating from that internal authority as the soul, and you're decreeing something, I am health, I am wealth, I am this thing, you don't deny realities that have already manifested, or thoughts as they're not real. You can deny them from the standpoint, you do deny them from the standpoint that they have no power over you, right? So no matter what you see outside of you, the only reason it has power over you is because you have assigned power valuation to it, right? If somebody is super healthy, right? They just know themselves to be healthy and they eat a donut, won't affect them. If they are super unhealthy and they just know they're unhealthy and they go on a diet for 6 weeks, they'll go back to being unhealthy. So your identity matters in that it frames and filters your experience to have certain parameters within which you can have experiences. So understanding yourself as that soul, understanding yourself as the player of the game that's projecting their consciousness into your body, right? While also understanding that your soul holds physicality to remove that fear thing, right? Because if you have the understanding that your body is the only version of you that exists, and once it dies, you die, it's a complete lie, right? And it's great for a scary, spooky time game. But if you're watching this type of jargon, you're not in for scary, spooky time game anymore, right? You're here to conquer and control and crush the game, right? Just like everybody else is within the understanding of the golden rule that, everyone as you pushed out, treat others the way you want to be treated, right? So essentially what you want to do is understand that when you decree something, that's heard the first time. I am healthy. That's heard and recognized. The issues come from when you waver and become double-minded. I am healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. And then you see the scale and you're like, I guess I must not be healthy. That second causation point made you shift your internal identity. So when you make a decision, what you're doing is you're changing yourself at an identity level in the same way if you changed your name, right? So when I have my name Jacob, right? And then somebody comes up to me and I'm Jacob all day, I'm being Jacob, I know who I am, da 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 da, and somebody comes up and goes, "Yo, Tom." I don't respond to Tom. I'm Jacob, right? I know that because I'm completely identified with that name. I know that name was given to me and I accepted it and that's who I am. I'm not going to let you tell me I'm not Tom. But if I grew up as Tom and somebody called me Jacob, I'd be like, "Yo, no, it's Tom," right? So when you're dealing with a factor in reality, what you're looking to do is to change that identity, okay? So the way that you do that is you change it in the same way that you change your name. You've been poor the whole time. I am abundantly wealthy. That's your new name. My name's Jacob. I'm abundantly wealthy. Nice to meet you. This thing pops up. Doesn't matter. I'm abundantly wealthy. This thing pops up. Doesn't matter. Always have more than enough. This thing pops up. Doesn't matter. Always have more than enough because I'm operating from first cause, decreeing I am this thing and I don't care what the previous version of me had reflected, because when people talk about controlling the reality, what they're talking about is trying to orchestrate the reflective principle, the mirror principle of reality. But reality is already going to show you who you are. It's on 24/7. The game's always on. It's always reflecting that identity. So you actually don't have to execute that reflective property of reality. It's just the same way where if I'm driving a car, I don't have to get in there and fucking work the pistons. Right? The pistons are going to do piston shit, right? But reality is even better because reality is perfect. It always works and never breaks, right? But if we have assumptions that are faulty of us being broken, of this being wrong, of this not being right, then reality will perfectly mirror those in the same way that the gas gauge on the car will show us an E when we're becoming empty. So understanding that it's just a reflective thing, there's nothing out there that can hurt you, right? Gives us the central locus of focus to go back internally and execute our life on first causation or first principle, which is I am, I have, or I am and I'm not, or I'm not and I don't have, right? So understanding that when we are judging ourselves, what we want to judge ourselves on is we want to judge ourselves on what's called righteous judgment, which is what are we decreeing and affirming about ourselves, right? What are we inputting? Righteous in scriptural lexicon can be interchanged with accurate, okay? It's just old school word for accurate. So am I thinking accurately? So when I'm judging myself, I don't want to worry about the external world because that's already physicalized, right? That's subtle to gross. That's already frozen, right? I've already put the energy and intention into creating that. I've already been that identity. It's already been reflected. It's all good, right? Everything's working perfect because reality is reflecting me, which is perfect to understand Because if I can just get me the way that I want to be, then reality is going to take care of that reflection. So that removes a huge load off my shoulders of having to go out and control everything, right? I'm already being reflected in the reality. Badass, right? So as I understand that, that gives me permission to go back internal, work on me internally. I am this, they call I am the name of God, because it is I am rich, I am poor, right? God is infinite, but when it's named, it's condensed and parameters are set in the same way that a thought is an encapsulation of a specific vibration. When I say cat, you think of a mental image of a cat. When I say dog, you think of a mental image of a dog. Before that, your mind was blank, all black space. Now it's centralized and focused into a specific parameter of thought, which encapsulated and actually trapped that light in a specific frequency that I can now observe with my consciousness, which just means awareness, okay? So as you understand how to use your consciousness, the main thing is to not contradict yourself, because you're in a reality that's slowed down at a slower reverberation than what you would call a higher dimensional plane, which could be akin to a lucid dream. So if I'm in a lucid dream, I say, I'm Julius Caesar. Boom, I'm in the dream. I've got the wreath and the laurels and all this stuff, and I'm in the chariot, and I'm going, woo, right? In this reality, you go, I'm Julius Caesar, I'm Julius Caesar, I'm Julius Caesar. But this reality is a slowed down, essentially, blueprint exported of who I've been. And if I haven't been Julius Caesar, then my whole reality that's constructed is constructed off the previous version of myself who is not Julius Caesar. So the way that I get this thing to move and show me I'm Julius Caesar is I have what's called faith and persistence in my ideal. So when you look at Christian metaphysics, which is ancient Egyptian mysticism, Christian mysticism, it's all the same stuff. It's the gnosis of God, right? Understanding yourself beyond just a human body. You understand that if this thing's going to reflect who I am, then my effort should be put on changing me to be the version that I want to be as if it's happening now, because this thing's going to reflect either way. So all of my judgment should come from my inputs. Am I thinking righteously? Am I thinking accurately as if I am Julius Caesar and I have what Julius Caesar has and I'm doing what Julius Caesar would do on a day-to-day basis, right? If you want to become somebody new, become something new, you have to do that internal change first while allowing the external world to naturally reflect as it's going to do either way, right? But the only thing that can cause jank is if I'm Julius Caesar, no, I'm actually Paul Rudd. I'm Julius Caesar, no, I'm actually Paul Rudd. No, I'm rich. Oh, but I don't have enough money. See what I'm saying? So it's that decree. I am this. I am this. I have this. This is now. And you don't contradict it. And you just keep going on it, right? So what you want to think is like when a king, right, when you're coming from an authoritative power, because most people don't think from authority or power. They think from slave mindset, or what can I get, or can manipulate, or maybe if I can do this, I can get a little bit better. But when you're thinking from authoritative, commanding presence, a king signs a decree. What does that king do? The decree is done. Huzzah! Tonight we feast. That decree is made, it's set in stone, it's law. So what is the king thinking about, or the queen thinking about? The king or the queen is thinking about reveling in the things to come, right? They're going, oh, this is amazing. With this new trade route, we'll have so much money. We'll be able to expand our empire. We'll be able to have better parties. We'll be able to feed more people. With this decree, all of these great things are coming. We're going to have this, this, and this. They don't sign the decree and then go, but what if it doesn't work? Maybe we should do another one. I don't think it's going to work. I'm going to go to bed. So when you make a decision, the easiest way to have faith and persistence, which would not be a thing if you weren't in a slowed down reality with essentially an illusion of linear time and a bridge of incidents that you're following and unfolding, you revel. You learn how to revel, man. You're like, I'm healthy. and awesome. I'm healthy now. I wake up with so much energy. I can, go to the gym all day. I can, oh my God, I look amazing now because I'm healthy. This is so good. I get to look healthy all the time. I get to go to the gym all the time. I'm never out of energy. I can run all over the place. You know what I mean? You learn how to revel and be in revelation, which is a revealing of that new reality, which is an opening of awareness of new potentiality. You put your awareness into a new reality, because in a reality where you're not healthy, you're aware of not being healthy. It's in your face all the time. So why wouldn't it be if you're healthy? That's in your face all the time too. So when you're decreeing, you make the decision, you make the decree, and then your mental energy is spent on that reveling and celebratory process, which people conflate with gratitude. Oh, I'm so grateful, but it's always fake. Oh, I'm so grateful. How can you be grateful if it's not here, right? You're artificially making that up, right? But if you understand that when decrees are made from the soul authoritative position, they are heard and registered because the universe takes you seriously, because you take yourself seriously. Now you understand that you have a different process through which you can celebrate and have a good time, and then additionally have these things added on to you, right? You actually have a process to where you can make a decision, not look back on yourself, and then you can have mental phenomena and things that sustain you that are implicative of you actually having what you want to have or being who you want to be, if that makes sense, right? So I know you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave comments in the section for future videos that you would like to see made. Additionally, I have a link tree for one-on-one coaching as well as different protocols. There's the modern metaphysics protocol if you'd like to do a deep dive into metaphysics as a whole, which involves basically hidden physics, gamification, health and fitness. That's all good stuff. We have the Spartan 1 human optimization protocol. You're Tony Stark, you're in the Iron Man suit, you got your Jarvis running. Make sure that's super legit, because it's with you all the time, right? Like if you're gonna drive a race, have a sick race car, right? So, and then also the one-on-one coaching as well. But more important than any of that, go conquer, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.